think about it, guys. You know,
let's go.
Think about it. The more confident a woman is in her own body, in her own sexuality, the better time you're going to have with us. You know, it's good for everybody.
What's going on? Welcome to the She's of the Band podcast here on KNOTFEST. Now, today's guest truly needs no introduction. No introduction at all, but I'll give her one anyway. It's Lzzy Hale from Halestorm.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, we're like halfway through. We just, you know, passed the halfway mark on the tour, so everyone's a little like loopy, you know. But the great thing about this tour is that instead of everybody going like, oh, you know, I'm annoyed at your face for no reason, everybody's just kind of like giddy, and we laugh a lot. I've been laughing to the point of tears every single day with all these boys. So yeah, I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's an amazing tour of pals, like I Prevail, Hollywood Undead, Fit for King.
Fit for King, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no, they're amazing. Fit for King are so awesome. They're so inspiring. We love watching them every night. They're just great. They're just entertainment. And Hollywood Undead, we've known for years, but we've never actually toured together. We always like see each other at the festivals and we hang out. And then I Prevail was kind of the same way. I got introduced to I Prevail through the radio, and it was just kind of this thing that would happen all the time where you wouldn't know who was playing, but we're like, that's really cool. Who is that? And every single time I'd say that, it'd be I Prevail. So then we finally met. I think it was in Belgium. And we all hung out, and it was like we all had to get on planes, you know, to go to wherever we were going next. And we said something like, we should tour, maybe we should write a song together, that kind of stuff. It always kind of happens. And here we actually made the impossible happen, and we wrote an original song with I Prevail. And we put the tour together. And so, yeah, from the first day, it's been like, oh, wait, we're all friends, you know, so.
Yeah, so it makes the loopy vibe like a little more tolerable.
Yeah. Well, something that, you know, most people that come to a show don't understand is that it's not just the one show. It's like we work very hard to be consistent, you know, try to be talented every single night.
You don't have to try, girl, you know, but yes.
but there is like this underbelly of it, whereas we're just a rolling circus, you know, and you know, some of us are high-flying trapeze artists and some of us stick our heads in lions, but, you know, it's all for the greater good of we're putting on a show together. And there are some tours that you go on that are hard because some of the people involved either think it's all about them or there's egos involved. There's always one guy that's a jerk or something, or there's a competition between bands because that's how they think. But this is not one of those tours. So it's very refreshing, and it's wonderful that everybody has, you know, kind of the same mindset.
Yeah, and I will say too, like, I'm not obviously super close to you in your camp, but I've always heard the most wonderful things about the energy and the vibe you curate within the band, within your crew. Like, there's never a mean thing said about you.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
You know, and so I do think that's also a testament to the culture that you've built within Halestorm, you know?
Of course. I think that that's so important, you know, and I feel like I didn't realize that until after a couple of years touring that, you know, shit really does trickle from the top. And with all of us, the four of us, the core of the band, we've been a band. We've been the same four members for 21 years now. And I've started this when I was 13, literally almost 28 years ago to the day, August 9th. Is our first show is Halestorm anniversary. So
happy early
Happening.
anniversary.
And we've always been really good. We have, you know, really, I guess, built this culture within the four of us that we know how to fight. We know how to have the hard talks. We know how to do difficult things with each other or have difficult conversations without breaking the whole thing apart.
Like a relationship,
yeah,
for real.
It really is. I always say, like, you know, I'm married to 3 boys and one of them is my brother, you know, and because it really is. Like, these guys are my dudes, and we have a lot of respect, and there's a lot of trust that goes into what we do. And I think that that's so important for bands to understand. When you hire a crew, they're going to emulate you. Yes. You know, and so usually when we meet people in other bands' crews that are obnoxious or are a pain or yell at, you know, everybody or just have to be that way, usually it has something to do with who their employer is and how because everybody leads by example. It doesn't matter if you're a grown adult. There are no ages out here, by the way. Just, like everybody's perpetually 15. It doesn't matter whether you're in your upper 50s or it's your first tour. Everybody's kind of the same. So whoever is in kind of the hierarchy of or I guess I should say, we hate talking about this stuff, but yeah, okay, I sign the checks and I'm boss lady, and we all, the four of us hold the veto card as to who does what, but we love to cultivate. It is a family, and we're all pirates out here, and we all have problems. We all have our little things, and the beautiful thing that came out of that with our crew is that by us going out there, we all hold hands and we jump out of a plane together every single night and hope we have our parachute packed right. It's like a car crash every night, a near car crash. Like I keep describing our show that way. It's like a near car crash every night. It's like we make, we made it home, but wait till mom sees the car, and that's what's exciting for us. And the beautiful thing that came out of that is that by us leading that, you see everybody owning their weird. You see everybody proud to take that risk and to do a live show and to pull it off in the correct way, and everyone's so proud of it. And then the little things, like our monitor guy loves watching dog shows. Our tour manager, he melts his own silver, and our drum tech likes taking photos of old cemeteries. He's like a little goth kid, and it's just awesome to see everybody just being like wearing it on their sleeve. And we have these conversations, and we said, well, if we were uncomfortable being our weird, and if we were uncomfortable taking the risk going out and basically killing ourselves every night for a show, if we were afraid of that, so would they, because that's just what it is. And when you're living in such close quarters, that's so important to keep that stuff together and be there for each other no matter what. So I don't know. There's a lot of respect and trust.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about the inner workings of this show as well. And the way you give the metaphor, like the mental image of like this car crash. Yeah. Because when I'm watching it as a spectator, it looks so tight. It looks effortless. And I guess that's kind of the point, is that
maybe more demolition derby, like we're doing it on purpose, right?
I suppose. Yeah. But it's interesting because, I see you all on stage and I just sort of see the fruits of the labor, right?
Yes.
Like I don't see the chaos happening behind the scenes. I don't see the near car crash. I just see the car's going.
Yes.
It is going. Which direction is it going? I can't tell. Like from the audience, it just looks like it's going.
Oh man. And there've been so many things. You can look this up on YouTube now because we found it, but there is an 11-minute version of I Miss the Misery out there.
11 minutes?
11 minutes. Because, okay, so I guess for anyone who hasn't seen us before or knows anything about what we do, we run everything very raw. Like I don't mime. There's no tracks. There's no click track. There's no time code.
Wow.
We don't do any of that. We do it very old school, and we always have, because that's in our personal, I'm not knocking anybody that does, that's just how we love to operate, and that's what's exciting for us.
It's rock and roll.
But our perspective is so strange because we literally have to go out there and listen to each other, trust each other. Someone's going to make a mistake, have the wrong cue. How do you right the train? So this 11-minute version of Misery, it was the last song of the night. We're ending with Misery. And my guitar player, Joe, it kind of comes over to me and he's like, oh my God, we have 15 minutes left. We're on our last song. We have 15. I don't know how we did it, but we must have sped through the set. We have to keep going. Oh, so shoot. in the moment, and you can see in the video us talking. And then so in the moment, I'm like, well, let's just keep going. So we end up doing this kind of improv jam, so Joe lobbed it to me. I do a solo. He does a solo. We, RJ starts doing stuff. And then all of a sudden we see our crew be freaking out on the side of the stage. It's like, what are you doing? It turned out that my guitar player's watch had stopped working, and he thought we had 15 minutes, but we actually only had 2.
Oh no.
So we're already over time now at this point. And you can see in the video, all of us going, oh no, we have to stop it now. So somehow we pulled the reins and we ended and retarded the whole thing down and ta-da, okay, see you later. And we're like, oh no. But those things happen, and those things happen every night. And when the beautiful thing about it is that usually when one of us thinks we have a bad show, the rest of us are like, no, you were okay, we got your back. And sometimes if we all think we had a bad show, our merch numbers are like through the roof. So we have it's like looking at it from a different end of the binoculars. Like it's a different perspective. But what I love about that is that there is this human element to it. So when I say car crash, I mean, it's like, we are literally, it's life or death every single night. And that feeling that you get from, even if you don't know in the audience, you feel that human element, that human, something could go wrong at any point in time. Something could cut out. What if the song doesn't go? What if I lose my voice? I don't know. It could happen. So that part of it is so exciting for us. But I'm really starting to kind of like, we've been having a lot of these talks lately because we're all going through this like midlife as a band together. And it's just kind of really beautiful, the fact that we've kind of held on and kept doing that. And that's our way, I guess the easiest way for us to kind of touch the magic and have a great day is like, oh, wow, we made something happen together. We're riding the same wave. That was a great night, you know?
I'm sure it's such a testament to like your professionalism as a musician that you can improv. Whatever happens in the show, you know you're equipped to handle, or you will handle. You'll get through the show. Like even the fact that you were able to improv an 11-minute version of your song, you know, like that's incredible.
I love that you call it professional because really it's reckless is what it is. I feel like a lot of bands strive for perfection, and that's fine. And we do too, especially in the studio and all of that. And we do strive for perfection live. We practice a lot. We rehearse. We change up the set every night. Something that we do an hour out before the show without fail. Like we're going on at 8:10 tonight. At 7:10, we have amps in our back room, and we start jamming together just to try to get on the same mental wavelength, because we hate the idea of us all doing things during the day, and then not seeing each other, you know, until we go on stage. So we have it mandatory. And so we'll all just be like, oh, key of A, go. Mistakes and all, who cares, you know? And we'll do that, and slowly but surely you can feel us all like gelling, and then we're like, okay, we're ready for the show, let's go. And that's all very important to us. But I love how the perspective of people is like, oh, you're so professional, you're so on. Really, we just have the balls to do it. And that's all, you know? And with any young band coming up, I always try to encourage older bands that have done it a long time to give some young bands some grace, because you don't have it all figured out when you start, and you don't have to. Actually, I've been doing this now in Halestorm for 28 years. I still don't have it all figured out. That is like the biggest secret of the music business. Nobody actually does. But the point is that, do you have, you know, the balls or the ovaries, whatever you want to call it?
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other conversation. I know. But to do it, that's what it's about. You know, it's like when we first started, it was laughable, but we begged the bowling alleys and the bars and the clubs and the bands that we'd meet, like, will you just give us a chance? Because we knew if we got the opportunity and we worked hard, we could maybe prove ourselves. And that's all you're doing as a young band. And we're still doing that. And it's just like, it's the way of life out here.
Yes. You know? No, yeah. You got to grind, and you just got to put in the work. And so I will say too, you know, you're talking about younger bands and like what you would tell them and giving them grace. And I will say, like, this podcast, it's all about women in rock. Like, that's awesome. Literally what we do. That's and awesome. If I had $1 for every time your name has come up in this damn podcast, I'd have at least $100 confidently.
Oh, thank you so much.
For real.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. And so I kind of think about, you know, your impact and the trail that you've blazed and the example that you've made for these other artists who bring up your name. And I'm just thinking about your impact. Like, what do you want to stand for when you think of like what your voice is all about, or who you are as a musician? What do you think that is?
I think that's changed over the years. I think that in the beginning of it, when it first, because you go through, you know, the first phase of being in a band is you're just doing it. You're in it. It's chaos, and you're just trying to make something happen, anything happen. What's next? What's the next move? How do we get on the front page of the local paper? That was like our first goal, you know.
That's so cute.
and then you know, we started getting a name for ourselves, and then that started happening for me. Personally, whereas people would be citing me as an influence, or, oh, you're such a great role model, or this. And I think I took that in the beginning as not so much pressure, but almost a responsibility. Like, okay, people are starting to see me as this now. So I should be on my best behavior. I should be doing this. I should have my wherewithal, and which was very helpful, but that wasn't the whole picture. I think I I started painting myself into a corner with that in my own mind, because I'm not perfect, you know, and I've never considered myself a role model in any capacity. So what that started doing for me in a negative way on a personal level was, oh my gosh, they're going to find out that I'm just a dork from Pennsylvania and I still don't know what I'm doing. And why is anybody seeking any advice from me or talking to me or citing me as an influence? And so I went through a little bit of an imposter syndrome situation over many years of just kind of not believing that it was me. And what you realize, I'm thankfully in the sunset of that, and I'm very proud to say I've made it through at least that phase of it. And what I see it more now is it's based in honesty. In if I can live my truest self, warts and all, I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to have good days. I'm going to say the right thing. I'm going to not say the right thing. But as long as I go into it being my truest self and my honesty and try just to be a good person, that's all it is. And that's all that I need to do. I don't have to have a PhD in psychology. I don't have to, talk somebody down from a ledge, even though I have done those things. Mm-hmm. And so it makes me so much more grateful. It's more of a connection than it is like I'm on this pedestal and everybody's looking to me for something. It's like, no, I'm down in the trenches with you.
That's beautiful.
It's no longer a race or a place on a pedestal. I've survived some battles. I've lived through some wars and I've survived. I've lived to tell the tale. And now I can tell the tale in all of its detail. And hopefully by me doing that, somebody else will see themselves reflected in that. And the beautiful thing about the honesty and even the flaws, giving yourself permission to be flawed and giving yourself some grace to be that, is that you get a deeper connection with your fans, because now it's not just something they're trying to live up to. It's not this like shiny thing that they're like, I'll never be that. It's like, wait, she gets depressed just like me. She goes through imposter syndrome. She goes through this. She had a bad day. She cried on stage the other day for no reason. So do I.
Yes.
So it makes the bridge to whatever they want to be. If they see something in me that they want to be, it makes that just a little shorter for them. It's more of that connection, that relationship. So
yeah, and I talk about that so much, of how the representation of these real artists, real people, it's that example of you can be that. You can do that. Look, she's doing it.
Yeah.
And that you have those common threads. And also I love the morph of going from being scared to show yourself and then realizing how much courage and strength and there is in that vulnerability. Because I feel like that's something I've also been going through, where I used to want to airbrush the photos, look perfect. Yes. Then you realize actually the strongest, bravest, coolest thing you could do is just be. Show it.
It's the edgiest thing that you can possibly do is to be unapologetically yourself. And it's something that I was taught inadvertently through songwriting, because there was a period of time, especially for the second record, third record, and even a lot of Vicious, was a lot of myself giving myself a pep talk. As in, I learn a lot about myself through songwriting, which my therapist tells me a lot. And she's like, well, let's talk about music. And I'm like, oh my God, again? She's like, no, but seriously, you need this personally, even if you didn't have an audience, even if you didn't do this is how you're working through your shit, so that then other people can work through their shit, Mm-hmm. And it's like this passing of the baton. But it's just, it's a beautiful thing. And for example, you talk about the no makeup thing and like the not airbrushing. I went through a phase almost immediately after I turned 40, where I became very kind of like manic, obsessed with these new ideas. I got a lot of relief turning 40, because when I was a kid, 40 was really old. And, I still feel perpetually maybe on my more mature day, 19.
I love that.
But what I love about the number and about getting older in this business is that it's giving, again, myself permission to be that. And I don't have to pretend to be this young spring chicken, up and coming, wow, everybody's rooting for me. Now I kind of get to just be. And so there was a period of time where I kept forgetting to put on makeup when we go out. So we'd be like doing stuff like, oh yeah, do you want to go see so-and-so? Yeah, let's go out and like do that. And so I'd go out with like, I look like a teenage boy in my flannel and everything and nothing. And all of my friends are like, oh, I love this new look you have. Like, it's so, like, oh, you look so happy.
I think there's a confidence
and then I'd be
in
like,
it.
oh, wait. Oh, well, I just forgot again, you know, but there is something to your inner self shining, you know, and I love encouraging people to do that because it doesn't matter. You can be so perfect, you know, or try to be so perfect, and someone's going to hate that. And you can be flawed and someone's going to love you. It's like, it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. It, like, all that matters is how you feel about yourself. And if I can wake up every day and be like, I'm having a good day, I made somebody smile today, which is, I do that very selfishly. Last night was a really cute moment. There was a little boy, maybe like 8 years old, with a mohawk. And he had a sign that said, Lzzy, can you please give me my first kiss? And so I didn't do it on the lips, but I went down off stage and I gave him a kiss on the cheek. And it was so cute because his whole family and everybody that was surrounding him the whole night just gave him room. And they're like, go for it, buddy. And he was like, what? I don't know. But like, it's those little things that I get so addicted to. And so that makes me have a good day. So it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of those things.
Yes. See, I resonate with you so much. I mean, I'm on the cusp of 30, so, you know.
Oh, awesome.
And people get so scared of turning 30 as well.
I was more scared of 30 than I was of 40.
And if I'm being honest, I look forward to it because I feel a similar energy to you, kind of coming in where it's like, I feel good in my skin. I don't need to, I mean, right now I'm caked in makeup, but thank you. But like most days, that's not really what I'm after. And I think there's so much comfort in your skin and just natural confidence and just you know who you are that comes with age. So I don't think it's something to be scared of. I think it's something to look forward to.
That's beautiful. And I completely agree. And you don't have to. And you can also be those things.
Totally. Like you can be glam, you could be tomboy, whatever you want. You could be them all.
Every day getting ready for stage is a new animal with me because I'm like, do I want to wear pants because I feel better in pants today? I actually want to be a skirt. I want to have makeup out to here. Or I don't. Maybe I'll do it more natural, whatever. But that's our choice and that's our fun.
Yes.
You know, we don't have to be something for anybody. Yes. So, yeah.
I just feel like I just had this moment of like seeing myself in you in this really wonderful
wild.
way. I just was like, whoa, I don't know why I just hit. But you were talking about also like the self-discovery in music. And that leads me to a question that for me is almost like a little vulnerable to even be like, wow, okay, let's have this conversation. But I feel like I could say when I was a teen, you helped me so much in finding my confidence as a woman, even like in terms of sexual power, feminine energy, like these things that you exude and represent. Oh, I'm emotional, but it's like,
thank you so much.
Yeah. Like I think of songs like I Get Off, Love Bites, like those songs aren't written from a male gaze or for a male gaze. Those are for us.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of female artists who, you know, whether we do it on purpose or if it just happens because it's default that like men are somehow being, you know,
yes,
it's for them in some way. And these songs are for us.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's so special. And I'm wondering why that's important to you.
Well, first of all, that is the biggest compliment. And I'm having a moment right now because just by you saying that, I see the positive that has come from it. Whereas there was a lot of negativity surrounding a lot of that, in particular with I Get Off, with Do Not Disturb, with a lot of these sexually charged more lyrics that I do because I got a lot of pushback from that.
Because God forbid a woman has pleasure or is into it.
You know, especially even before it was released, you know, there are still people in this industry that are very afraid of a woman being confident sexually and being able and saying what's on her mind. I mean, it's just a thing we do, whether or not we're taught to say it out loud or not. And I remember there being conversations like, oh, well, can you change this line so it can be inclusive for everybody? And I'm like, well, it is inclusive for everybody. Because no matter how you listen to I Get Off on You Getting Off on Me, which isn't even that edgy, by the way. We have WAP in the world. It's okay. You know, I'm not that dangerous. But you know, there were a lot of those conversations like, oh, can you do that? I'm like, well, no matter how you cut this, it can be for everybody. It's just that you're viewing it like you're scared because a woman is saying it, that the men are going to be, oh, what about me? I'm like, it's for you too, because the more confident, think about it, guys, you know,
let's go.
Think about it. The more confident a woman is in her own body, in her own sexuality, the better time you're going to have with us. You know,
Yes.
it's good for everybody.
Yes.
But, you know, I don't know. I have a lot of those conversations with myself about the flip side of the coin. And there's a lot that we have been taught to endure, to compromise, to, for heaven's sake, I've been called a ballsy woman. We say things like, "Oh, she's ballsy for a girl being in a rock band." Oh, she's bringing a masculine energy to this genre, or you know, regardless of being a girl. Oh, she's the man. We have all these connotations when really what it is I'm being exactly who I want to be. And those decisions for me, when you said that to me, when I made the decision to have the standoff on the phone of, no, I'm not changing one thing about this song, regardless. And people saying to me, oh, well, we're probably going to drop your record then because that's irking some guy at the top that doesn't even know me. That's the head of a label, you know, or whatever, or whoever it is that is the gatekeeper in that. Oh, well, the radio promoter won't play because it's too aggressive for a female, which has happened before, you know, to a couple of our singles. They wouldn't get played because, again, quote unquote, it's too aggressive for a female. Meanwhile, they have Godsmack, Five Finger Death Punch, Corey Taylor, for heaven's sake. So there's a lot of wrong that happens with that. But by you saying that to me, sorry, long story long, is those decisions that I made that I was like, after I had those fights and those standoffs and got my way, there is that thing in your brain saying, did I make the right decision? Or should I have played the game? Am I being a reckless female? Am I being difficult? Am I being a diva? Am I being too much, you know, or am I being a young, like naive person for thinking that I can buck this system? And so by you saying that to me gives me this huge, I don't know, it just feels like a weight lifted because, okay, I did the right thing.
Thank
and
God
that
you
was
did.
the right move to make, you know, because you just don't know. Like, again, like I said, this is chaos. I'm making decisions based on how I feel in the moment. Some of those decisions are right, some of them are not, but where that's concerned, I'm very glad.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm so grateful that you did because I feel like there's just very few women who are writing music for women. And it just, I just had so many moments where I was imposter syndrome, not feeling so confident. I could put on your songs and feel your energy.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I was young, unsure of myself, not sure what my femininity, what my sexuality looked like, there it was in those songs for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you've kind of raised a generation of powerhouses.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad. And it's so beautiful. We're in a really beautiful time as a band because we're finally doing meet and greets back in the States again. We post-COVID, we went on a whole world tour besides the States. Kind of recently opened it up over there. And so we didn't realize this, but this is our first like major tour, really getting to see people again. And we've had to, you know, have tissues in our meet and greets a lot because there's been a lot of like crying and beautiful, emotional, lots of hugging it out. And it's wonderful to be in a position where you know that just some small decision you made, whether it's a line that you decided to keep in or whether it's something you said, even something here in an interview, if the fact that you're able to touch people through music. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with me, by the way. I'm not saying this on any egotistical way. Like, I had nothing to do with it. This is the power of music and the power of connection and the power of being brave enough to say no when it matters and to say yes when it matters and following your inner compass, whatever that is. So,
yeah. So, I mean, this whole journey, wow, you must have learned a lot about yourself and having to stand up for yourself.
Better or
like
worse, yes.
Yeah, I guess, but it must have been really transformative, especially in your earlier days, like with these songs that are now mega hits, by the way.
It's wild.
But like the confidence you must have in your own intuition.
Yeah, I mean, and it's and that's even funny for me to conceptualize because it's kind of like you can hear your former self and like the doubts that you used to have with what you're doing, and as you are entering this kind of, as I am entering this new stage of kind of being confident in what I do know, and even in the things that I don't know, I'm willing to learn. as I go into those situations with more confidence, I can hear like my other self screaming like, no, we don't do this. Wait, you're going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to say the wrong thing. What happened? And I'm able to kind of, but she's quieter now, and
Totally.
so that's been a beautiful thing. But, I mean, it's a huge testament to my boys too. I am very lucky to have 3 best friends. And again, one is my little brother who has followed me down every rabbit hole, every harebrained scheme we've ever had. His contract with me, and I'm going to be a little cute for a second, because my brother and I started the band when I was 13, he was 10. The only reason we started so early is because my brother has always been fantastic at the drums. He could do it without knowing what it was.
Yeah.
And he wrote me, after we named the band Halestorm, we had our first show, August 9th, 1997, and he wrote me a note, slipped it under my bedroom door. And it was a contract. It was like, I, RJ Hale, am going to be in the biggest band in the world with my sister Lzzy, and I get to play drums and all this stuff. And then I was like, oh, RJ, thank you so much. And at the breakfast table the next day, and I said, well, I think we need to do something again to get on the front paper. Like, let's do whatever it takes. He's like, well, yeah, we're a band, and I get to play drums with you though, right? I'm like, yeah, we're a band, we're doing this, and it's still the same mentality. It's still the same contract. Like I'll do this stuff all the time with him at 4 a.m. Like, you know what we should do? We should do this. He's like, sweet, let's do it, and the other 2 are the same way, Joe and Josh. I mean, I've known both of those boys since I was 19. With all of the weird stuff that has happened with me, the responsibilities that I've had, being the lead singer, being the only girl in the band, they've been there for me through it all, and they've seen it, and they've supported me in anything that I've ever wanted to do. There's never been any jealousy of the fact that I get more attention because I'm a girl or the lead singer, that kind of thing. There's never been any of that, and I feel so lucky with that as well. And I cite being in this band, miraculously finding my tribe, with that I'm crediting all of that. With becoming the person that I am today. It's like, I don't think I'd be able to be here in the way that I am without all of those things coming into place. So it really just kind of makes you think about like, okay, for whatever reason, the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, has plan. And it's really weird. I sound really woo-woo like talking about this.
You're
feel like
talking
an
to
old
the right
aunt or
person
something.
for the woo-woo. Let's go.
But it's like, okay, for some reason it hasn't taken me out yet. Yeah. Regardless of how much I've put that into a very easy option. It's like at any point in time, this could have all been over. And so I'm very, like I said, there's a lot of I'm very grateful.
That's really beautiful. I mean, I started doing interviews when I was 15. So
so
I've also
sick.
early start. And I think about that now as I get older of like, I want to make my younger self proud. And I sometimes will have that moment of like, okay, is 15-year-old Tori excited about what she's doing? Exactly. Oh, she is. Exactly. She's pumped. She's sitting here with Halestorm today. Like it's really great. And I even think, to when you were younger and you had this vision of you're going to be on the front page of the paper and you're going to be in the biggest band in the world. And now you have the fame and success. For you, how has the experience of said fame and success been different in the way that it impacts you or who you are, your decision making, all those things, compared to how maybe you thought at 13 that it would be?
Oh man. Well, at 13, there's a difference between knowing that maybe you are capable of great things and then those things becoming a reality.
Right.
We did a lot of deep diving research because we were obsessed with being in a band. We were very aggressive teenagers to the point that we had to be called in the principal's office, and there was like interventions after school with parents and people thinking we were going down the wrong path. And
were
it was
you trying to be a rock star while you were in school?
We were trying. Yes, we were. So a lot of that was like, I took a lot of that as like, there was defiance. They're like, no, I'm going to find a way. But now that it's happened, and especially when it started happening and we're like, wow, this is actually working, I feel like now it's more about how do you use it? What am I going to use it for? Because I love the show, and I think there is an element to me that definitely loves attention, or maybe that's why I'm here with you today. Like, I love talking about stuff, and I love deep diving on the why of it all. It's fun for me. But I think that with fame and success and getting recognized, I mean, I remember the turn that happened, especially with COVID happening. It was like shortly post-COVID where I started to realize, I'm like, wow, it's no longer only 20% of the time me getting recognized when we go out. Like if I go to a random town that we're not even playing in, there's a good 60% chance now that I'm at the grocery store and it just happened the other day. We were in Asheville on a day off, not playing there, but we were going through to Georgia yesterday. And we went to Dick's Sporting Goods and got stuck there because we couldn't get an Uber. And then we finally got an Uber and we're coming back to the hotel. And the guy just turns around. He's like, oh my God, you're Lzzy Hale. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, hold on. I have to I'm like, well, let's pull, the thing is right there. Let's pull over,
Yeah.
And he just has this whole story about how he listened to our songs during middle school and his brother had a crush on me. Then they came to see us, this whole thing. And it's so beautiful.
Wow.
And so in those moments, how do I use it? So for me, it's like you want to, we took pictures. I made sure he had some pics, the whole thing, guitar picks, the whole thing. And because it makes my day, because it's so unbelievable to me that, again, I'm a dork from Pennsylvania. I grew up on a 20-acre farm. My dad was a mechanic. My mom's stay-at-home mom. We didn't know anybody in the business, no famous uncles, nothing. And the fact that people care enough to be like, whoa, I want to say hi to you, or I want to give you a hug, I want to tell you my story, is just so mind-blowing to me. So in those moments, it's like, well, if I am a person of note, and I say if because there's still a part of me that doesn't believe
this
that.
imposter syndrome.
But
yeah.
If I am in that moment, be a kind person, make somebody's day, be there for them if you have the capacity, to do so, and always say hi. I don't know. It blows my mind too when people are like, oh, you're so nice because I met so-and-so and they were like, get away from me, that kind of thing. I'm like, but it takes so much. I know what it's like to try to go up to somebody. I remember meeting Sevendust when I was a teenager, right?
Yeah.
So they were playing this club called the Chameleon Club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We were just a young band. And so we went to the show and we saw the tour bus. Ooh. And, I was kind of shy about it, but then my little brother was like, we should knock. I'm like,
knock?
No, we should not knock. That's terrible. That's like, I don't know. What if they're jerks? What if they say no? And then that's going to ruin it for me. He's like, no, let's just go do it. I'm like, damn it. Okay, I'm going. So we knock on the door of their bus. I'm like, just nervous, right? And LeJean opens up, and I don't know if you've ever met LeJean, those boys, but they're so sweet. Opens up, he's like, hey. And I'm like, hi. And we immediately go into, we're in a band called Halestorm, and we're coming to see your show tonight. And we just want to say you're really great. That just word vomit. And they're like, oh, come on up to the bus.
What?
And so they invited us up to their bus. And we had our little demo with us, which had It's Not You on it, by the way. Wow. A first iteration of that. And we gave them our little demo, and we were so awkward. They're like, do you want water? We're like, no, it's fine, And finally, it was like, well, okay, let's go in, and we'll see you on the show, and we'll be in the front row kind of thing. So we're all at the front row waiting for the band to go on. And we hear our song over the PA system. They had put in our demo. I'm hearing It's Not You for the first time before we were ever signed, before our first album, everything. I'm hearing It's Not You over the speakers. And I turned to RJ, I'm like just squeezing his arm. And I'm like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, because we turned to each other, well, if they think we're cool enough to play our song at their concert before they go on, well, maybe we got something. And so years later, after getting to know them, I've had these conversations with LeJean, and I've had these conversations with Clint and with Morgan. And I'm like, I hope you know how important that was to these two kids, and 4 kids at the time, that just wanted to be you. And if you had said, whatever, guys, just get out of here, we probably would have taken that to heart too. So again, fast forward, we learned from the best at what to do and also what not to do from other people. And I think that's now kind of a rite of passage. I'm like, I am now in a position where I get to do that for people. Yes. And so it's beautiful.
Yeah. That is absolutely unreal. And like the fact that you're on the same bill, same festival,
I know.
Sevendust now, like I was just at Incarceration. You guys were both playing.
I know.
And now like that's going through my mind that you all are peers. How beautiful.
It's wild. And RJ and I, we were side stage for Sevendust at Incarceration and singing all the songs. I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't know. It's such a beautiful thing. So yeah, I don't know. We're all in this together, no matter what level you're at. And it's like, you have to kind of understand that don't ever lose and you too, but like, don't ever lose the magic of it all. What, like you talk about, would this make 15-year-old you happy?
Right.
Do that with everything, you know, because it's going to mean something to somebody. And also, honestly, it's more fun that way. Like, it takes a lot more effort to be a jerk.
That is true. That is true. And, you know, I'm thinking of like full circle moments, you know, the Sevendust. I love that story so
wild?
much. And you played with Skid Row earlier this year. That was another one.
Oh my gosh. That was a
Holy
whole
crap.
other animal. Yeah.
Because that was like a gateway band for you, weren't they?
Yeah. Because I was a weird kid. Because so in the 90s, I wasn't interested in grunge. I was interested in 80s hair metal and 70s like stoner rock. So it was early on, it was Black Sabbath, Dio, Alice Cooper, and then it was Cinderella, Skid Row, you know, Bon Jovi. I know every Bon Jovi song and every Skid Row song. And so this was like 96. I was like, whatever, 11 or 12 and, you know, trying to convince my friends that like to listen to this stuff. They're like, what? And this is like when it was TLC and it was the boy bands were starting and I was like,
that's not the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And dude, I could talk all day about those days because, oh my gosh, like I remember like going to a slumber party and like putting in Alice Cooper into this like Powerpuff Girl boombox and having like these new girls and that I had just met like look at me like I was an alien from outer space. Like, why do you like this? You know? Anyway, coming full circle, you know, I moved to Nashville about a decade ago, and I got to know Rachel Bolin, the bass player for Skid Row, pretty well, and he's just a great human. And so, like, we got past the oh my God, it's like Rachel from Skid Row, which I will dovetail a little bit on that because we met. We were fresh in Nashville, and there was this every Tuesday night down the street at a bar. They would put on this event called the Rock and Roll Residency. And basically anybody who was in town could get up and do covers. There was basically these two guys, they know every song under the sun. Sick. So it would be Alice Cooper when he comes through, would come up and he would sing a Judas Priest song or something. And I forget what song we were doing. It was either Priest or it was, it might have been a Dio song. But they got wind that I was in town. So they're like, hey, do you know this song, this song, this song? Would you want to get up? I'm like, absolutely. So I'm getting up. And I'm standing on stage, and it's Rachel Bolin from Skid Row on bass. It's Kip Winger on guitar. Sally, the original drummer for Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and somebody else, and I forget who else. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is life right now? So anyway, Rachel and I become friends. Fast forward many years. We're at a mutual friend's birthday party, and we're eating cake. And Rachel is like, hey, Lzzy, so I was thinking, would you ever consider being up with Skid Row for a couple shows? And my dumb, brain, because I was a little stoned and eating cake, was like, oh, like Halestorm and Skid Row, that sounds like fun. And he's like, no, you dummy. He's like, no, actually being our front person for a couple dates. I'm like, oh, well, what's going on? What's happening with Eric? And he's like, well, there's some stuff going on, and I don't know what's happening yet, but would you be willing, if I called on you, like, would you be willing to do it? And I'm like, dude, absolutely, let me know. So literally a week later, he calls my bluff, and he calls me up and he's like, were you serious? And I'm like, okay, well, what are the dates? And he said, well, there's these 4 that are on the books that we can't cancel, and we need someone. And so I called up my adults and my team, like, clear these shows. We have to do these dates. I really want to do this for Rach. And so he sends me, 18 songs that they're planning on doing over the course of the shows, and I'm learning the songs, and then they announce it. And I realize all at once that this is way bigger than just friends helping out friends. Because I'm hearing people come out of the woodwork, like childhood friends of mine, my dad and all of his buddies. And I got this overwhelming feeling of like, oh my God, not only have they finally received my VHS audition from 1996 in the mail, but not only am I going to get to live out like my childhood dream, but oh my gosh, it's becoming this event. I have to be the front person. I have to be the Sebastian Bach. I have to, what am I going to do with my hands? It's also the first time I've ever done shows where I'm only singing, because I'm usually playing to some capacity, either on piano or on guitar throughout a night. So it was just wild. I'm like, wow, I have to like embody this. And so I did it up. I'm like, I'm breaking out the leather pants. I'm going full on what I wanted to be when I was a teenager, which was a dude dressed up like a girl in a rock band. As a little girl, I wanted to be a dude dressed up like a girl in a rock band. That was my goal. And so it was just such a beautiful thing, and kind of summed it up. At the very last show was so awesome. We played Reno. All of our friends came out, and there was 2 very, very distinct groups that came to the shows. It was the old guard that's been seeing Skid Row since 1987, knows everything about them. They're super fans. They're diehards. And then there's Halestorm fans that were bringing their dads and wearing the shirts and deep diving on and discovering Skid Row through that. And so it was such a beautiful full circle moment in so many different ways. And I am so grateful for them. We had so many amazing moments on stage. And we left it like, I know I can't stay. And they're like, oh, we want you to stay. I'm like, I know, but I'm already married, to another band and, that kind of thing. And so I just told him, I'm like, put up the bat signal. I already know the tunes. I know the songs. I would love to do this with you again, no matter what. So like,
the door's open.
So the door is open for, if we can make it happen, we'll definitely do it again.
That's so good. I remember when that got announced, like I was excited for you. I was like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing ever. Like, and I have to deal with a lot of music news all the time. There's always so much. It's my entire feed. When that happened, I was like, I have to Google this right now. I have to find the videos. I need to find anything.
The Google alerts were insane.
Living for you.
It was like 40 press releases every single day. And then on top of that, so after the whole thing like kind of blew over, we were like in the, ooh, I conquered that. I can't believe I just did that. And then John Bon Jovi himself was on an interview, I forget what for, and he, I feel bad because I'm forgetting a lot of things as far as the details as to what went into this. But months ago, I got a request for, hey, somebody's going to be interviewing Bon Jovi. Do you have a question for Bon Jovi? They're basically curating it from all musicians. So I sent in a random question. This is way before the Skid Row thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I sent in the question, forgot all about this. So this is the interview that the interviewer gets to ask Bon Jovi my question. So I'm watching this interview thinking this is really funny because I just, like, he knows the Skid Row guys really well because they're all from the same area. And really, I mean, Bon Jovi is credited with one of the reasons why Skid Row got signed and got the attention. So anyway, he starts off the interview because the guy says, oh, we have questions from Corey Taylor and we have questions from Lzzy Hale. And he's like, oh, Lzzy Hale. He's like, please join Skid Row. You're the best thing to happen to Snake since he met me. And I'm like, I'm watching this interview going, holy shit. First of all, Bon Jovi knows who I am. Okay, so that happened. And he's like, and he thinks I'm good enough to be in Skid Row. He just said that. It was amazing. So anyway, wild times.
Little Lzzy was having a moment.
My inner child was screaming, like, can you believe this? We were going to marry him when we grew up. I don't know. It was funny.
That is absolutely crazy. And what's also interesting about this is, like, obviously you have Halestorm going on. You are married, having the quick affair with Skid Row. And I know you're also kind of in the midst of working on a new album.
Oh, yeah.
So did revisiting the songs that inspired your youth kind of translate into getting re-excited, reinvigorated, or inspired as you're working on new music too?
In a word, absolutely. And in a way that I didn't think it was going to, because you can say, oh, well, I've learned some Skid Row songs, or I've been able to experience performing them in a real way. So you would think that it would just be kind of a musical thing that inadvertently soaks through, and there is that, because obviously I'm like, wow, I'm capable of this. Let's try this. But it was so much deeper than that, because we got into the studio and it's like the four of us are in a house. We're doing it with Dave Cobb, which is a wild card for us anyway, he's such a beautiful rock dude and very ADHD, which I love. Everything is magical. He has us in a house in Savannah. and it's the 4 of us unsupervised.
Uh-oh.
With all of the equipment we could ever need. There's beds, there's a kitchen, there's a river and a dock that we can go hang out in. And so it just feels like the beginning again with us. And with all of these other things that have happened to us kind of bolstering that mentality, we're in there doing whatever we want. And we aren't thinking about whether something is worthy of radio or something is worthy of the fandemonium. What it really has come down to is that core, and kind of full circle for what we started talking about, which is it comes down to you. Is your 15-year-old self excited? Are you excited about what you're doing? Are you having fun? I'm laughing so hard. We're grown adults making this record, and we get up at 11 a.m. We start recording. Oh, what about this? Oh, I had this melody line. Oh, let's follow that. And we won't stop until 3 a.m. doing these weird. The guys, the last time we were in the studio, the guys and I were up at 3 a.m. on a keyboard making little do 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 sounds and laughing our asses off, making up just stupid songs, and it just felt so good. And so it's like, for me, I'm so excited to see what people think about this album because it's unlike anything we've done before. And I think that we are in this rare place as a band where we're able to still feel that magic from the beginning and hear it on tape. And so whether everybody hates it or everybody loves it, it really doesn't matter to me because I'm having the best time doing it. So it's interesting. It's
so how do you think
wild times.
The energy like kind of translate into how it sounds? Because that's so interesting. Do you is it kind of going back to your roots a bit, or?
I think it's a little of everything because there are moments that I've had conversations with RJ, like after one of the songs that we had finished and we were kind of listening to it for the first time. I turned to RJ and I said, does this remind you of that song? We had a song called Over Me when I was like 14. And we had recorded it in one of my dad's friend's basements because he had some type of recording gear, And I'm like, doesn't this intro remind you of that? And like RJ and I remember a lot from those early days. And RJ goes, oh my gosh, I think it's the same drum groove that I used. I'm like, that just happened naturally. So there's that. And then you're kind of taking all of the things that you learned.
Of course.
All of the things that make you excited and that are your seat of your emotions for being in this band. But then without thinking about it too hard, without trying too hard to be the rock people or to be the energy, we just are being all of the things that we have collected over the years. And we're dumping all the puzzle pieces out on the floor and be like, oh, I love that blue. Let's do something with that. And so, I think it's going to be a little piece of everything,
Beautiful.
Of everything that people know about us that got them excited or got us excited. And I'm hoping that I'm right, when it's all said and done. And I'm also hoping that nothing that has to do with the stale part of this business or the gatekeepers of this business get in the way of that. Yeah. Only time will tell.
But yes. You like live and breathe rock music in such a way where I just feel so invigorated even sitting with you. And I think that comes across so much in the music you make. And I cannot wait to hear this now, just knowing what it felt like for you to make it. I have no doubt that that's going to be contagious. Just sitting and talking to you, it's contagious.
Well, I hope so, because I think that people can tell when something is forced. One thing I try to, we've been having this conversation a lot on tour with the rest of the bands, because we all have the same mentality that there's so many bands that needlessly try too hard to be rock. And I'll drop some knowledge from the queen guru of womandom. She's everybody's like favorite crazy aunt, Linda Perry, because she told me this a while ago. And she said, she's like, Lzzy, you don't have to try hard to be rock. You don't have to try. Mm-hmm. You are rock.
Yes.
So just be. Yes. And it will happen. So
yes, period.
Yeah, so we're trying to do that.
You are it. That is why you're here. That is why you've been the number one, most requested guest to have on this, because you are rock.
Oh, thank you
so thank you for just being.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you for being.
Thank you. And now we're just going to say thank you over and over, because it's been such a great conversation. And I hate to wind down, because I feel like I could just sit here and
we could do this all day. That's why I always come with somebody, we need for a voice of reason, because I will literally sit here all day and talk to you.
I know. So to wrap up every episode of She's of the Band, we have 4 jaw-dropping questions.
Oh, nice.
And I'm excited to ask you these. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show could be one of yours or someone else's.
My goodness. Well, I don't know if this is the most jaw-dropping, but it was one that definitely kept my attention. There was a couple. This was years ago. I think this was around 2012. I think that we were playing Sonic Temple at the time, that it was Rock on the Range at the time. I believe that was one of those festivals. But front row couple that started off making out in the beginning of our set, and then just ended up finishing the task. And the irony about it all was that there was nobody that noticed but us. You know, it's like they're literally like going at it. They're having sex in the front of the stage. Like, well, not in like, it's on the barricade.
Like on the barricade.
It's on the barricade.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
it's like, I guess whatever, but like, it was so distracting because I'm like, do I watch? And then I'm like, it's kind of funny to watch, but then also I'm like, I shouldn't be watching, but also they're doing it in public, but also I'm like, guys, are you seeing this? So like during like a solo or something, or like a drum thing, I would go over to like Josh, like, are you like front and center? What's happening? And he's like, oh my God. So it was this weird mixed emotions of like, I've been told I shouldn't watch, but also it's interesting, but also like they're kind of have this like voyeurism thing going on because they can't help it. Also, That's kind of beautiful that they feel comfortable enough during our set to do that, you know? But yeah, that was, I guess, one of them. Yeah. You know, there's a couple. But
at that point, I'd be like, so do we skip the sexy songs in the set? Because I don't think we need them today.
I don't think we need them today. Yeah, it's funny. And then in the opposite sense of that, I remember this was a club gig back in the day. We played in Red Lion, Pennsylvania at this tavern. And this is one of our first times doing the cover. I will always love you. All I want to do is make love to you by Heart. So we're playing this love song, and a fight breaks out, like full on fist fight. Oh, in the middle of the audience. I'm like, it's not like we're playing Limp Bizkit. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird out there, you know?
Yeah.
I have much respect for anybody that goes to a concert and does any of that. So thank you.
They keep it interesting.
Thank you for your service.
Yes. And now the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson you learned from it.
Earliest misstep. My goodness. It's interesting because there's been a lot of them, but I almost want to twist it in a way because I feel like what I consider missteps a lot, you know, I mean, okay, I will say there have been things that I'm not proud of. I've only ever been drunk twice on stage. Never again. I'm not a good drunk. You know, I mean, I'm happy, but I don't remember things well. So I didn't remember a whole lot of the lyrics that night. So the things that I probably would be like, I wouldn't do that again. But for the most part, a lot of the decisions that I've made that I've been like, oh, why did I do that? Or why did I say that? The weird thing about it now is that I can look back and be like, well, I'm so glad that happened. Mm-hmm. I want to say like very early on in the day, we had our first guitar player in the band, right? And he was awesome, but he only stayed in the band for about 8 months. His mom pulled him out. The poor thing, he was only supposed to be in the band for 6 months. His mom sat me down and said, hey, if you're not signed in 6 months, you know, I'm pulling him out of the band, which, you know, as a 15-year-old, I'm trying to explain to a grown-ass adult, like, this isn't going to happen that way, you know, and it shouldn't. Anyway, he ended up lying to his mom, did more gigs. She got mad. He left. And at the time, I was like, I should have fought for him more because now we lost a whole other element of the band. Mm-hmm. But by him leaving and me being very distraught about it, I picked up guitar because somebody had to play. And then I fell in love with it. So there are so many things that like that I would say, yeah, I could have done it differently, but if I did, I wouldn't be here. So
I'm such a believer. Like everything happens for a reason. And that's kind of why I asked that question, because there's lessons in those things or like a reason why those things happen. Totally.
It's like almost you're like, wow, it's like almost meant to be.
I'm glad you picked up a guitar because you have like beautiful signature guitars. The Warning wouldn't have their beautiful guitar if you didn't play the guitar.
It's very true.
All these things.
And I've gotten to talk to that guitar player as of recently in the past couple years, who he's working with another amazing band actually now. And we've talked about that night because he's like, man, I probably shouldn't have listened to Mom, right? And I'm like, no, actually, what you did was give me a tremendous gift, even though you didn't think about it at the time and I didn't think about it at the time. But I said, you inspired me. You were the first guitar player that made me want to play.
Yes.
And with you leaving, I had to do that. And so thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful, like, just full circle for both of you.
Yeah.
And he has closure now, too.
Yes. Yes.
Now, the most jaw-dropping female artist you would love to work with.
Oh, my goodness.
You've had some incredible collabs already, too.
There's so many. And I've gotten to meet so many of my idols. I've gotten to be very awkward with Joan Jett. I fangirled too hard with her. We played a show with her, and this was a full circle moment because at the time it was Mariah from Plush had a solo thing going on, and she was opening up for us, and we were opening up for Joan Jett. So it was like the 3 bill, and we all were like, what's going on? And Joan Kim comes up to me, she's like, oh, so hey, nice to meet you. How you doing? And I was so like caught off guard that I'm like, it's really hot out here. I was talking about the weather, whatever. Anyway, I've gotten to have great conversations with Ann Wilson, but I think that the woman I'd love to sit down and talk to and do something with would be Brandi Carlile at this point. Brandi Carlile or Pink. Come on, girls.
Ooh,
or
an
do both.
expanding genre.
Can we just do both? Let's do all 3. We'll write a song. It'll be great.
Yes.
But
how do we get this to Pink?
But yeah, please. She's a rock and roll heart. It'd be nothing for her to come to the dark side. Come on, girl.
I know, she's right there.
Come on.
Yes, Brandi Carlile too would be amazing.
Yes, her voice is amazing.
Yes. And last but not least, to the grand finale, most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood.
Oh my goodness. And I don't care if you understand me anymore.
True.
Really. But I think this goes for anybody, regardless if you're a girl or a boy, but I will say specifically for female, I think that more people need to understand the weight that we carry from the time that we're young. And I think that the people, and I don't think everybody's a jerk. I think that there's just a lot of ignorance and people don't understand. Mm-hmm. So, I like to talk about it, but women are born from pain, with pain. We get told from an early age that we need to be quiet. We need to be ladylike, seen and not heard. You have to wear a dress. Oh, if you don't go out without your makeup on, how are you ever going to find a man? Oh, you better get married soon. You better not age. All of this stuff, we are carrying all of this unnecessary weight. Yeah. And so when you see a woman who is doing exactly what she wants to do, cutting her hair if she wants to. Sorry, that was still an issue with me. Cutting your hair, wearing what you want, doing what you want, saying what you want, doing some good in the world, getting up there and rocking the way that you want. Some people are into painting, clay, anything that you want to get into. Some people collect, anime figures. When you see a woman doing those things, don't discourage her from it, because it has taken more than you will ever imagine to even get to the point where she's able to do it in public, in front of people. So the misconception is that, we're just here doing it and it's great. We've had to endure so much and be defiant and have to dig deep. And a lot of us don't make it through that gauntlet. A lot of people, I make sure and I say to every single woman that has come before me, all of my foremothers, including my sisters, Amy Lee, for heaven's sake, she had to go through the gauntlet as well to be who she is. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you to Joan Jett for not giving up. Thank you to Ann Wilson. Thank you to Stevie Nicks, anybody that you consider, thank you to my mom. Because if your story had been, she was a female in this business, or she was a female trying to do her thing, and it just didn't work out. It's a man's world. She quit, she gave up. Maybe that would be my story too. But because they said no and they said yes, or whatever it is that it took to get them there, I'm able to be there, and it made my journey less hectic. And so my job now, and I've talked about this with Amy ad nauseum because we love talking about that. Our job is to just pass the baton, try to muscle up, and whatever we got to go through, hopefully it doesn't hit as hard them, when they come up in our position. So just give us some grace. We've been through a lot. Okay. It's been a hard day.
And with that said, thank you, Lzzy Hale.
Thank you, love.
Because you deserve a thank you as well for being so authentically you, giving me the permission to be authentically me so that I can hopefully do the same for whoever's next in line. You know,
yes.
you are part of that baton. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
That is a bow on that conversation if I've ever heard one. Thank you so much.
In our next episode, welcome to our TED Talk. Yes.
You are welcome anytime. And everybody who's watching, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you are liking, subscribing, checking out She's with the Band here on KNOTFEST every other week. Lzzy Hale.
Awesome.
This is it. We'll see you next
Thanks,
time.
guys.
Bye, y'all.